Welcome, everybody. Hello, hello. Thank you for all joining me. Thank you for watching the replay. I made this like a Q&A today, so if there was any questions people wanted to ask, they can ask them. You have to be on my YouTube page to ask the questions. If you are on the Mary June Tracy page, I won't be able to see your questions. But if you're on my YouTube page, Mary June Tracy, or the Guru Mama Facebook page, I will be able to see your questions. So if you're on my personal page, I won't be able to see your questions. So I won't be able, if you have one, to ask. You know, if you wanted to ask a question, I won't be able to see you. Your best place would be on YouTube. Come and visit me over on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Subscribe and like. Let's get my numbers up there. So, it's a little unsettling, I think. This is what I have been feeling, so I'm going to throw that out there if anybody else has. I know I see my YouTube land people and the Guru Mama land people. So thank you all for joining me. I feel the energy of the light, and I feel the unsettling energy of the world, and how to stay lit with it all, right? So there's this energy that's coming in, and we can see the craziness of war. Okay, there's, with everything that's happening in Ukraine and Putin, we can see what's happening, with the United States and the breakdown of the United States and the government, and everything to do with wanting to keep control of their strength, right? So we're seeing the dismantlement of that. We are also witnessing how the UK hasn't had an election, but they keep popping in these little puppets in as PMs, and now they got the biggest puppet of all that's in there, which is very scary. I think that's very scary. People with heating bills, food, the food crisis. So all of this, like, we're witnessing this. We're witnessing the housing crisis, the Bitcoin. As I always said to people, I said, yeah, there's always a time and a place to do everything. And Bitcoin was one of those ones that you really had to do your investigation. Now there is huge downloads coming down. Not downloads, but just download of everything to do with Bitcoin and the crimes behind it. So this is, this is going to make Murdoch look like a little baby, like he didn't do anything, like a little pansy, I guess, with the amount of billions and trillions of dollars that are involved in this Bitcoin, and how many have really put their money all into Bitcoin. Now, I was always one that you never put your eggs in one basket. You always, put your eggs around. I don't have many eggs, so my eggs aren't even scattered into baskets. But that's the thing, is like, if you're able to do investments and things like that, you got to do your research, and you got to make sure you are spreading it out, like doing your due diligence, and you're looking into things, right? You really have to do that, and watching. That's why I say, the energy of the light is there. We all know, and the energy of the of unsettling of the world is there. So this is where it's you got to sit back and do what you need to do, and watch and be discerning. Information that's coming out in the world right now of deaths, higher deaths than 2021. And these deaths are unclaimed. They don't know why, they say. All these deaths are happening. So we have a lot of deaths that are happening at this time. And it's young people. It's not, we know as you get older, the higher chance of dying is pretty good. That's one thing you can guarantee on. But when you're between the ages of 0 and 24, the chances of death are very slim. And the chances of dying of a heart attack between the ages of 0 and 24 are pretty slim too. So we're seeing this, being unveiled. We're hearing all of this. So this is all of the energies that are out there that are unwinding. And that's what I feel it is. It's like this big chain, these chains that, like when you have a very thin gold chain and you just put it down, then you're like, how did it get all tangled? It wasn't tangled 5 minutes ago and it got all tangled. This is what I feel what's happening is like all of everything is getting untangled. And as it gets untangled, it's releasing these energy bursts. These energy bursts are being released and, information is coming out. Now, as Mercury went over the sun and, during the eclipses, this is like really, wow. There's some crazy information that's going to be revealed to us over the next, over the next 6 months. And some of it's going to, again, it's going to shatter people's reality more so than it ever has before. Now, this is where, things to do, again, with the shot. More information is going to be happening with the shot. I cannot believe that they're still trying to push it, but of course, you got to follow the money train, right? You got to follow that money train on where, why are they pushing it so badly when they know it doesn't work? It doesn't work. Evidence is coming out. More information is being revealed. It doesn't work. It was an experiment. And that's what I tried to tell everybody, that it was an experiment. And in comes this new experiment that's coming in, and that has to do with the carbon tax. That has to do with, what they're saying about the oil and the gas, that there is, how polluted it is, how everything it is. Yes, we know it is. It's not all environmentally friendly, but the other side is worse. So it's like almost where it's the shiny syndrome. They want to make things look very shiny and pretty, but in behind, you don't really realize all what goes behind in making and creating that element. And they don't want you to look behind the curtain. They don't want you to look behind that curtain. So this is where I feel like, with this energy of this great light and of this, as we're coming into a new age, a new era, it's messy. It's messy. And a lot is getting released. A lot is getting, blowing people's minds, because sometimes it is overload with everything that is coming down the chute. And some of it feels very scary and overwhelming. And that's where, again, we have to come back and take a look at, okay, what is going on? What can I control? What can't I control? This is when we really have to use, again, our discernment. And I get that beautiful unicorn coming in every time I use that word, discernment, coming in and saying, yes, you really have to look at what it is that you can control and that you can't control. And that's where a lot of the energies are. There's a beautiful grand trine in water right now. So there's a lot of emotions and energies that are coming up. And especially with Venus coming to the end. I mean, Venus conjuncting my Venus makes it kind of sometimes, it can be harsh, because she doesn't like to be in Scorpio. Scorpio's, her detriment, meaning that she can't really expand and do the things that she really wants to do. You can't, if you want to overindulge in Scorpio, overindulgence in Scorpio is not exactly a good thing. Just saying, it's not a really good thing to think that you can overextend yourself when you're in a lot of Scorpio energy, because it'll backfire on you. You'll sink faster than anything if you're trying to really overdo it with this Scorpio energy. With all of this, and I know the other day for 11/11, a lot of people were doing portal work and stuff like that. And I was going to do a message out there about it, but I decided not to, because sometimes it's like, but, a lot of things, as I say, look really good, but they're not, and when you're trying to do a lot of different energies, especially when it comes to Scorpio energy, and a lunar eclipse and the South Node being in Scorpio, you gotta know your shit, man. You gotta really, that's when a lot of crazy stuff can seep in and look really good. I was talking to one of my clients, and she was talking about her pendulum, and she was getting messages from her pendulum and asking questions, and which is great. I think using your pendulum is a wonderful thing to do, but sometimes your pendulum can be deceitful, and sometimes your pendulum can lead you, to where you don't want to go, or where you think you want to go, but it's not really where you want to go, and that's because it's partially ruled by your inner pendulum, right? So, and other things can come in and manipulate it. So you really have to be aware of that. And sometimes, again, that's where the discernment comes in. That's where you really have to say, you know what, this doesn't make any sense. I'm going to put it away for a while. I'm not going to utilize my pendulum for a while. And I'm going to begin just to trust my own inner being, my own inner gut, and my connections with my divine. And that's really, a lot of where the energy of coming into the light is. That means that, yeah, things might be going really, really well, but you really have to be cautionary with all of that. You got to really say, okay, is there something here I'm missing? Because this is, sometimes it feels like it's too good to be true. So you really have to take a look at it and say, okay, what is it that I'm missing? It's like, you look at your bank account and you say, oh my God, where did all this money come in? But you forgot that there's a bunch of payments that have to come out, and you might go crazy and go spend it. And then you're like, holy fuck, what just happened? So you really, there's a caution that is coming in. And to have that caution, be cautionary. The next new moon is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the jury, is the accountability. So it's wanting to hold you to accountability, but still enjoy and have fun, but not to enjoy and have fun, yet not to go crazy, if not to really go crazy. I never follow my pendulum. It's very deceptive to me. Yeah, it can be, very much so. And that's with a lot of things. That's why it's always very good to come back and reconnect to self. And in 2023, that's partially, we're going to have, it's earth and water energy. Earth and water means that we are, having to really come into the grounding and come into our emotions and our feelings with everything. And so a lot of things are going to have to do with purification, sensitivity, temptations, and what are those temptations are, where are we being led within the temptations within our lives. And this is where I feel like when we look at the astrology, it's sort of setting us up in order for us to use our intuition to not get lost in the craziness and in a lot of the strings that are going to pull us into ways that we don't want to get pulled, or the propaganda, because Jupiter and Neptune are slowing down. Neptune's going to be going forward soon, and so is Jupiter. So this is where you don't want to get lost, and you don't want to get really into the craziness of the propaganda, of the information that's coming through that you are going to see is a false narrative, right? As they call it, the fake news. And so there's a lot that's going to be pushing more and more upon the fake news, and a lot that's going to be hidden, things that are going to be hidden. But with Pluto going forward and really at the end of Capricorn, Jupiter at the end of Pisces. So it's like I got like something to do with a lot of spiritual people, a lot of spirituality. A lot of this is going to get blown out of the water on their structures and institutions, and how it's run, how things are deceptive and being deceptive to us. And in saying that too, with the end of Jupiter being in Pisces, about our connections and our own truth. Now, I was listening to, I think it's called the Museum of Tarot. I love the guy. He's on TikTok. And I follow him. Very smart man, does his work, brings in scientific information and the whole 9 yards. He was doing a talk right on, and her name was Brenda Dunn. I had to write that down. She was from Princeton, and they did a 20-year study on connections and how with psychokinesis and how our energies and manifestations work. And there's a whole 20-year study that has been done. Now, within this study, what they found was that if people were of the same sex and trying to do a manifestation or connection there, it was always a hit and miss. Every single time there was like, okay, sometimes they got it, sometimes they didn't get it. But when there was the opposite sex, a male and a female, I'm going to stress that, that's what the opposite sex is, a male and a female, and there was a connection between the two, the manifestations really came together and were directed. Now, one thing is that what they found when they worked with women is because women are, we have this energy and we want to project, and we're very intuitive, and we have this, we can be, and we can just get out there and we can manifest, but it doesn't always hit. And that's what they found. It's like with the females, it doesn't always hit. It's sort of like a hit and miss. Sometimes they get it, sometimes they get a little piece of it, sometimes they don't get anything. But what they found is when they brought in the male counterpart with the manifestation, the energy of the male brought in a focus. Yeah, that's the direction that we're going into. That's very male energy. And what they have found now is that you need the male and you need the female in coming together in order to create the manifestation. In today's society, and this is part of staying in the light and in the truth, is that they're trying to break that down. And that's why when it comes to when people are saying, I identify as a tree or some other fucking stupid shit, I go like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Why is there, and if you argue about it, or if you say, well, you're being trans whatever, fearful, and you get backlashed on that, there is again, this is when you go back onto the eagle's perch and you start looking down the road and you start seeing, where is this being pushed? Who's gaining from this? And then you start to see, oh, okay, so these powers, these deep state powers are like, oh, they don't want to have the masculine and feminine together. They don't want you to have children. They don't want you to create a harmonious commitment to one another, because if you do that, when you do that, what ends up coming together is light. What ends up coming together is community. What ends up coming together is an understanding, is a place where people can co-create with the divine in a more fundamental energy that brings in the grounding. Hopefully that makes sense. Don't ask me to repeat that. So, but that's where this energy is coming in. It's having you really take a look at what is happening around in our world, what they are trying to do to manipulate. It's easy, if you manipulate a child between 0 and 7, you got them for life, right? So that's why so many of us who are raised in a Christian upbringing, go to church every Sunday, you go to catechism. I was raised Catholic. You have to confess your sins, blah blah blah. And then we have to unprogram ourselves, right? There's an unprogramming there. But when you raise children in thinking that, are you sure you're a male? Are you sure you're a female? Causing these confusions within them, within that society, then what you have as adults, and as they get into teenagers, and that you have a whole generation that is unable to connect, unable to come together, unable to manifest and create positive communities. Like it or not, it's a scientific fact. You don't have to like what I say. But then again, most people don't like what I say. So that's perfectly okay. But this is where this co-creation needs to come in. This is where this light needs to come in. Now, I'm not saying there's any, gay, bi, whatever. Okay, I don't give a shit about it. But it's when it's trying to be pushed upon a society to separate and to downgrade and downplay the feminine energy, the woman, and that's what's happening. I mean, Miss USA was a man who won. Ugly motherfucker. That's what I'm going to say, an ugly motherfucker who just won. Excuse me, but who is a biological male, won the Miss America pageant or whatever it was. And this is where it's like, okay, we are really downplaying that woman energy, that energy of the woman. And that's why I put on my page and I said, define a woman. And a lot of people don't want to step out in defining a woman. Well, a woman is a woman. A woman is who can create life. A true woman is one who can create life. They have breasts so they can feed the life. And this is where this energy, especially as it's coming in to the end of Capricorn and this Piscean energy, is having us to connect to the truth of what it is about this earth, along with our expansion, with our connection with that of the divine and how that divine connection is. And where are those temptations that are leading us away from that of what is truth, of being that of a female? And why would they want to knock down that feminine power? Because it's strong. It's strong. And even though these women are clapping and saying, oh, yeah, we agree with it, do they really? If you got them on their own, do they really understand the degrading part of it all? Because standing in the power of being a true woman, a true biological woman, she doesn't have a dingle-dangle between her legs. She's a true woman. She has that true divine feminine. She has a blood cycle once a month or once every 3 months or whatever that cycle is within that person. They have breasts. There's a sense and there's a feeling. That's why when we're going to go back to that manifestation, because as a woman, we can focus on so many things all at once. That's, being part of that divine feminine. It's like when they've done studies when women are focusing on something and in the background there could be a very small cry of a baby. They know it. But when they did the same study with a man and he's focused on something and there could be the same small cry of a baby, they have no clue that baby's crying, but the woman does. Because that's part of our biological makeup. But when we have powers, when we have that unsettling of the world that is there, that is trying to rip and tear that apart from us, that means they're trying to dismantle a part of a society so that we don't come together, so we don't co-create, so we don't manifest. But we have beautiful energies that's saying that we got to stay within that light so we can bring in the co-creation and the manifestation. And as we do that, we can come in and we can choose to the listening of the truth and finding that reflection within inside ourselves and back to the centering of our planet and of our earth. And as we do that, we are going to be finding that we're able to accomplish more. We're able to move forward more. We're able to help others more in doing this. And dropping away, this is dropping away and this is rebirthing. That's what Pluto is. And as Pluto leaves Capricorn for 3 months and goes into Aquarius, there's a death and resurrection that comes in there, a huge death that comes in. because it leaves the earth and goes into air. So it's like dropping off and going off into air, and then it comes back into the earth, trying to redefine and balance, then move on for 20 years into air. So we have this energy that's coming in that is very air. Even, with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that we had, that was the first time it happened in air, in that, at the first degrees, how powerful. That's a new beginning, right? And it was fixed air. So what is that new beginning that we're bringing in? And it has a lot to do with intellect. And it has a lot to do with community and understanding what that community is and what that co-creation of the community is and how we can co-create with one another and bring forth a unity for each and every one of us within this world and ground it into this world. Because as we go through 2023, earth and water are not really easy. It can be very muddy. It can get very icky because Jupiter will be going into Taurus next year as well. And who else is in Taurus is Uranus. So there's an expansion, right? That's Zeus is going in with his grandfather. He just spent how many years with his father? Now he's going in with his grandfather. The god. He's a god. Uranus is a god. He is the god of the universe. He's in that god realm. What is Zeus? Zeus is a god too. Might be a little bit of conflict that comes in with that. Might be some really great ideas that come in with that, but that's Taurus. That's fixed. So we got to look at it. It's like, how am I staying in within my grounding? How am I staying in within my direction, in me, and staying in within my light? In order for me to come in to do my personal prep work, because Taurus is all about prep work. It's about, coming in. It's about our gifts, our talents, our survival environment, how we can spread, wonderful goodness with that. So here we are at a time after eclipses and with all this Scorpio energy. This is about learning the boundaries that we need to learn. This is about coming in with the connections that we need to come in with and our truth. Scorpio's all about truth. Gemini's all about truth. They state the truth within the boundaries. They know the boundaries. They got to come out, they know the boundaries. They're going to reveal everything that was balanced in Libra, what was being balanced, weighed out. Okay, we looked at the balance, we looked at the weighing out. Now is coming out the truth. But it's difficult sometimes in it all coming out because it comes out a lot all at once, and it can get like a chain, as I said, as a chain being unlinked and coming undone. There's so much that comes out of that. There's so much energy that comes out of that. That's why it's going to be so important as this is all happening and coming in, where we're going to find a lot of controversy with this. Again, a lot of controversy. A lot for things that we know, like the shot. Why push it? We know it came from a lab. We know that the shot does not work. We know masks don't work. That's just, sometimes I just want to rip masks off people because it pisses me off. But to each his own. A lot of things piss me off. But it's like, okay, we got to come into that truth. But sometimes it's so hard because such a line, right? As I wrote about my mother and father, they came from a time, and I mean, propaganda was always around. It's always been around. But they came from a time of trusting their government, trusting, to do good, to come together, to fight for what is just. Now we're being thrown and things are being deceived, and we're seeing that deceitfulness of what are we coming in to fight for? What are we coming in to fight for? What is that justification? Why, and we're coming into a time where we're really questioning more and not just blindly with the government or with, a prime minister or a premier or whoever it is. We're not agreeing with them. We're like, okay, this doesn't make sense. We might not like Putin, but he was certainly right about how the Ukrainian government was treating the Crimeans and how there were labs there. He was totally right. He's totally right that there's a huge mass of Nazis within Ukraine. Right? And it's like, but we're not supposed to believe him. Right? We're taught not to believe him. So we're taught only to believe, of course we got to believe the United States. Of course we got to believe Canada and Britain. Those are the good guys, right? So here, this is where, again, when we look where Neptune is in Pisces, it's like, ooh, there is a media, there is deceit. And we got to come in and learn to be coming in with the discernment and the understanding that, whoa, there's a lot of deceit that's being underhanded here. So we need to come back into our light and go back up onto the Eagle's Perch and say, holy shit, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why are they doing this? There must be some kind of control factor. Well, what are they trying to control? They're trying to control the money. They're trying to control the narrative. This is what's coming in. So your next thing is that you're going to be seeing is an environmental lockdown. And I've said this before, and I've talked about this before, but they're talking about an environmental lockdown within 15 minutes. That environmental lockdown within 15 minutes, that means you are not, you can get to wherever you're going to go by walking or cycling within 15 minutes. That means your job. That means your shopping. And you won't be allowed to leave your area except for less than, I think it's 100 times a year. That's what they're talking about right now. And they're going to try and push that and implement that. So this is where it's like, oh, okay. It's so important to come together. It's so important to not. It's so important not to be afraid of one another. It's important for us to come together to co-create and manifest. And come together with a male and a female. Come together and bring forth that unity. Bring forth that healing that needs to be done on both sides. And know that neither side is perfect. Imperfections, that's why we're on an earth walk, to learn. But we are coming into a time that we need to come in and begin to create a manifestation of truth and what that truth is. And it comes down to the morals and it comes down to the values. That's why Taurus is so strong, and with this eclipse, this full moon eclipse, with this full moon total eclipse in Taurus, it's getting us to really look at to see our truth. And with the North Node there, how can we ascend to that greatness that is within all of us, and look at our purification, our sensitivity, and our temptations, and what are those temptations in life that lead us astray, and honor those and thank them for being there, because they're showing us where we need to work on. We have to choose to listen. And that's the most important piece. You listen, you watch, you know that, okay, it is unsettling, but you know what? I'm coming back into my light. I'm coming back into my truth, and I'm going upon the path that I know I need to go upon. And in doing so, that's how we come together. That's how we're going to make a difference within a craziness of a world that is shoving war down our throat, that's scaring you because of nuclear bombs, that is bringing in and wanting you to eat crickets. You know, this is where you say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not, this is not right. It's not right to feed children worms. It's not right to feed them crickets. And you think might be crazy, but that's what they're doing in some places right now. So I'm just grabbing this. I'm grabbing a set of cards. I'm still here. I'm just grabbing a set of cards. Hang on. Oh, that's interesting. I guess these ones, the Akashic ones. Okay. Have all these little boxes and they're filled with different cards. And so let's bring these cards out and I'll pull out a couple cards. If you have a question about something that I've been saying or even something I haven't said or anything, if you have a question, just write it up in the comment box. And I'll see if I can draw a card or answer your questions. So people that are living in fear usually don't like people who speak the truth. True. True. How true is that? So these cards are from Sharon Ann and Sandra Ann. Sharon Ann Klinger and Sandra Ann Klinger. Do you think there will be an EMP attack on North America? Yes. Yeah. They've already done it a few times. So they've already had different attacks already. But yeah, definitely there will be. Two cards came out. It is the Queen of Roses. Look at her. She's so beautiful, the Queen of Roses. And then there is the two scrolls, the two worlds. Wow. The two worlds. That really interests me. But the Queen of Roses. The Queen of Roses reminds me of the I would go into 2023. There's going to be some things probably happening in around Christmas as well. And that has to do a lot, too, with a lot of solar activity that's going on. Right now I know Europe's having a heck of a time when it comes to heating and stuff like that. And the United States is stealing oil from Syria and other countries, even though they have their own. But, as I discussed in a couple videos before about the diesel shortage and why we're having a diesel shortage. The EMP will be a part of control, too, and wanting to have some kind of control over everything. So the Queen of Roses shows a happy resolution to the difficulties with family and loved ones. So she shows that there's, there is a resolution, yet there's two worlds. There's two worlds. So there's going to be two ideas in how this is going to come apart with everything, and how you embrace and how you take on this world. It's breaking up into two worlds. It's going to be the people that really are going to go along with everything, and then you're going to have the ones that are, well, maybe I'm not going to go along with everything. And that could bring in animosity with it all. Because even though you want to have things come together, I think there's going to be something that's going to really want to break everything apart and make that breaking apart to come in. So this is going to have to, and this has to do with, with the breaking apart will have to do with money and the personal world. and they no longer have a drive. So you have an opportunity now to act on your highest ideals and convictions, right? So there's going to be a drive where they're going to try and push things, but when it comes to the resolution, people I think are going to come together and say, hey, that, you know what, I'm not going for that dollar. There is something that coming in that's more important, that has more of a concrete meaning. So in saying that, that could have to do also with, you know, the oil backed dollar, and people are going, no, I'm going back to silver and gold. You know, collecting and bringing back silver and gold with all of that. So there is that, you know, with everything spinning around, because you got the spinning wheel there. What are you spinning, right? And you know, you might be worried and tired, and gazes out, you know, you're worried, you're tired, you know, you want to come together, you want to bring forth community, but there's a tiredness there. You know, looking at the fire and everything, there's a bit of tiredness, and the outside world is glorious. There is, you know, there's the two worlds. Outside world, look at, there's the haves and the have-nots. So this is where you are now experiencing the polarities between, you know, a self-realized spiritual experience and personal success. So wanting to come together, he's the queen, we want to come together, but you're really feeling that diversity. You want to come together, but something's pulling you into a different direction. Something's, you know, there is a resolution in both worlds, but it eludes. You know, it's eluding with what's going on, and with that, Uriel and the Sphinx. Wow. So there's that Egyptian energy. So that's ancient. So there's some ancient energy that's coming forth with all of this, and Uriel is the angel of wisdom, and so is the Sphinx. There's wisdom, and there's a full moon there. So we have this energy of wanting to come together, but we got to really trust in our inner strength and our wisdom with all of this, and what that inner strength and wisdom means. So as she stands within the full moon, the Sphinx is usually shown as the body of a lion, indicated strength, and the head of a king, which is authority and intelligence. Uriel connects and confers with the great source of mystery. So there's also someone who's here to help. So Uriel is the fire of God. So the fire of God is coming in, wanting to help, wanting to bring in this self-understanding and transformation as we are trying to connect, create in a world that is totally divided. We want to come in and bring in that connection. And bringing in that connection is allowing ourselves to come into the depth of the transformation. And this is within our own daily life. So this could be a direction where we need to, maybe there's a teacher or a mentor, there's something there more that you have to learn in order to come in to bring in that co-creation. And as we do that, we come into the healing, the divine physician. And the divine physician in this one, they depict that of Jesus and, you know, coming in with that healing. So there is a grand healing that is happening, but within that healing that is happening, it's going to take some time because of these great divisions and the hurt and the pain that's all there. But that healing that comes forth is allowing for us to be vulnerable, to allow ourselves to come into that humility. The divine physician is that, you know, bringing in that medicine, and the divine, the Dian Cachet, you know, by the Celts, is the mortality wounded rise again through the incantations of the sacred words. The powerful eternal healing spirit walks with you at all times, at this time. So knowing that this healing spirit is walking with us, knowing that we are having this healing with us at all times, and it's deep within us. And as within this energy, they are parts of us, and the light of the healing is going to shine, and it's going to come through because there is a divine wisdom. There's a knowledge there. There's a deep ancient wisdom that's within all of us, that arises within this healing, that allows us to come into that and bring forward connection between the two worlds. Because the queen, because we have a queen here and we have a king, because, the head of a, with the lion, the strength, but the wisdom and the integrity of a king, with that of the guidance of the angels come forth to guide us. It's there. Sometimes we just have to take that time and put our hands on our heart so that we can, agree to disagree, so that we can still come together. And when there is discontent, and when there are trying to lead us upon a road that we know is not where we want to go, that we have to trust in our inner guidance and our healing, and remember that a word and a thought and a belief and a feeling are the key components in healing. So remember that words, how we state our words, how we state what we are doing, is power, because that is a spell. So when you hear things being said over and over and over again, there's a spell being cast. So this is where it's like, okay, what is this? What is that of my word? What is it that I need to be doing to bring forth the healing components of my thoughts, so that I can come into the purification of my own being? Very powerful. Very powerful. Wow. Such powerful, powerful cards that come out. Oh, and the Queen of Forces. Ooh. So the balance comes forth. So the unity and the balance come forth with this all. So this is where we are coming through a great transformation. We're coming through this great transformation and change, and this change is going to have us go into a direction on how do you want to create the next 20 years. And that 20 years goes into the next 1,000 years. Like, what is that? Because that's what we're on. We're on this evolution of change within the world. And it's us. It's each and individual us on how we think and how we come together with each and every person is going to do the vibration of the action of the creation of what it is that we want to manifest. And we have it all within inside ourselves. Pretty crazy. Crazy reading. Man, that's crazy. That's all I'm going to say. It's crazy. So before I leave here, is there any final questions that anybody has? And you have to be on my YouTube page or the Guru Mama to ask the questions. If you're not on those pages, I won't see the question pop up. Just an FYI. Will Alberta become? No, they won't. They won't. Alberta's not going to annex. Why? Like, honestly, it's like, if you got to go down into the depths of it all. Like, why would they want to annex? Yeah, there's confusion and everything within Canada. Yes. That's like Quebec. No, it's everybody thinks it's a great idea, but really, is it? So, plus Alberta's landlocked. Like, that's the most stupidest thing to do. So where you're landlocked, where are you going to go? It's always talked about. But honestly, where are you going to go? Like, if BC still stays in Canada, you're going to have to go through Canada to get to the coast to ship things out? Danielle, I don't like her anyways. I mean, and the other thing is too is people have to understand there's a huge, when it comes to control right now, there is the WEF, but there's something higher up than the WEF. There's something else that's controlling, right? So, yeah, but if you're a politician, it's how do I explain this? If you're a politician right now, and this is coming when you're looking at it, you have to. It's a fine line. It's a very fine line right now in the world. It doesn't matter what kind of politician, whether you're a mayor or whether you're a premier or a governor. There is this fine line that you really have to walk in order to create what you want to create for your people. And it takes a lot of guts to step away and do the middle finger and say, I am not going to be a part of this. And we see countries doing it, but you're also seeing the backlash and the isolation that they're wanting to do upon those countries and do upon those people, because they are doing that stand up, right? So this is where, it's and the powers that come from that are very evil. So they don't care at the end of the day. They don't care. Just like in the UK right now, they don't care. They just basically, I'm going to call it a coup on bringing in the next prime minister without an election. Like, fuck this, have an election, right? Because it's the power of the people. That person was not voted in by the people. He was appointed by the party, backed by the King of England, which is like another fucked up thing, So what is that power with it all? And that's what, you really have to look at. And that fine line. So there is a real fine line on things, and we will see a rise, but the rise always comes from that obscure energy or that obscure person that you didn't even think, it's like Bloody Kansas. And I think his name was John Smith. I have it somewhere. Anyways, who rose up, but in him rising up, I mean, he went in and he because he was a very religious man. He believed in equal rights for everybody. He was not for slavery. And he went in and he blew up a lot of, ammunition and things like that, him and his sons. They were later caught and convicted and hung. But you're going to see people like that coming out, because it's going to push that people aren't going to take it, right? So we're also on a time when the Constitution of the United States was written. And if we look at the Constitution of the United States, I mean, I'm not talking about the United States today. I'm talking about the United States of 1776. This was, people who didn't want to be under control of a monarch, didn't want to be under control of these powers. And being under control of these powers and saying, you have to do what I say because, and that's one of the reasons why the Constitution was written. And then they also went in and they had to have a constitutional, not a conference, it's, where they got together and they really hashed it out. And that was the last time they actually had a hashing out of the Constitution. At that time, there's been amendments and stuff that have gone through, but there's a reason why it's a republic. It's a republic, and that's the thing. And in understanding what a republic is, so we are coming into a time of creating our own newness. And when it comes to, when we look at the separation and stuff like that, I know Lexi's like, I just asked you one question, Mary, but you come into this, this transformation and stuff that's happening with all of this is there's such a fine line with it all, and if you look at the vastness, too, of Canada is a great country. And the people of Canada are absolutely fabulous. You know, we are a very diverse country, but we are a country that has a lot of greatness to it. And to take one piece away from it, I think that would be really belittling us all, you know, within it all. And that's the thing. Same in the States. I mean, it's looking at, yeah, it's such a diverseness, and we think they're a bunch of honky tonk idiots, you know, but it is that freedom that they have, that freedom of thought, that freedom to say, fuck you, I don't give a shit what you say. That's why they sue each other all the time, right? And that's, you know, when you understand that, it's like, oh, okay, I get that. I get that. You know, I may not agree with the monarch now because I don't trust the new monarch. I mean, the queen came in, I mean, she's still the monarch, right? She was still the monarch, but she came in with some values and morals, really strong values, strong morals. And that's the thing, is like, does the new king have those strong values and morals? I don't think he does. I think, you know, he's a very deceitful, underhanded, spoilt little boy who's finally got his way after, you know, being a spoiled little boy, you know, and had to wait so long to get what he wanted. And now he wants to rule his reign, but it's not like the kings of old. So we'll see what's going to happen with all of that. And you know, I think his children have more, especially his one son, William, has a very strong values, you know, that are there because of what he has seen, you know, with all of that. But it's going to be played out, like with where Pluto is and stuff like that. There's so much that it's going to be played out over the next several months to when it goes into Aquarius, several years. And Pluto in Aquarius is also death, huge death, you know, and we're going to see huge death rates. And that's part of the divine, but it's also part of man-made, who's created these huge deaths also within the world around us, and what those huge deaths are. So, yeah. Anyways, whew, crazy times we live in. So I'm going to love you guys and leave you. Definitely, if you are wanting the early bird special 24 mini moon readings for 2023, that means you get a full moon and a new moon reading that I deliver directly to your inbox, is on sale right now for $450 until the 26th of November. Then it goes back up to $600. I only have 5 spaces left of it. So if you are interested in it, let me know. There are payment plans. So if people are wanting to do a payment plan, definitely let me know. But there's only 5 spots left for these mini moon readings, because I do them personally for each person, and I want to make sure you get what you pay for, baby. So, and I think it ends up being like $18 a reading at $450. So, you know, pretty good savings. Anyways, have a blessed one, and may the Lord and the Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you, and all you say and all you be and all you do. Blessed be everybody. Bye-bye.